Howdy, howdy, and welcome back. It is another Workshop Wednesday. This week's edition is a Getting Started edition. Oh, excuse me, it's not a Getting Started edition. It's a What's New edition. Look at that, the first one of the new year, and I've already screwed it up out of the box. That's okay. We're going to edit this out in post, but not for you on the YouTube channel because you get to hear all this messy stuff. So what's new for January 2023? Welcome. My name is Chris Mercer. I'm the lead instructor here at measurementmarketing.io. And whether you found us on the podcast and talks about they're doing, maybe you've seen some of our training on some other platforms, maybe you're already a full-fledged member over at the measurementmarketing.io, part of the academy itself. That could be a free toolbox member, an academy for marketers paying member, academy for professionals paying member, or of course, maybe you're already part of academy for agencies and teams. However you found us, we're happy that you're here. We do have the Measurement Marketing Academy, as I mentioned earlier, lots of courses and everything else back there. More on that a little bit later. For now, focus on one thing. That is one new idea, one new concept, one new thing, especially from these updates that you can start to take advantage of. You put that into work and actually build that skill around that new feature or benefit that you find out about in this workshop. Then you come back, rewatch this workshop, find another new one thing. That's how you actually build skills without getting overwhelmed and frustrated. Let's face it, this stuff has got a lot going on, especially with platforms like GA4. All right, let's go ahead and get officially underway. What's new for January 2023? All right, we're going to go ahead and start as we always do with the Measure Marketing Framework. We plan, we build, we launch. Why do we do that? Because marketers typically are marketing in the blind, just a lot of guessing. And we want to use a system that just produces revenue and profits, right? Just as a symptom of using the system. So the activities are really important. And when you're watching today's workshop, it has to fit into the framework. So plan. It could be the questions that we're asking, the information that we're collecting. Maybe there's better ways to take different actions based upon the answers that we're getting. In the build, you think about the results. Got to make sure the platform is measuring the results we want. We make sure the traffic's being measured and that it's being done in a way that tells a more natural story. Some of these updates might help with that. And then, of course, you use your measurement system by listening to the conversation that's happening between your users and the website. Then you forecast. In other words, based on the recent trends and patterns, you can start to forecast your near future. And then you measure against your forecast. That is how you know how to optimize. And remember, most people jump to optimization first, but if you don't go through these other steps, you're just guessing. That's why a framework is so important. So feel free to use the Measurement Marketing Framework in your own organization. All right, up next, of course, is returning champion Julie Brade. She is the director of measurement here at measurementmarketing.io. She's been teaching this stuff forever. Account manager for our dedicated measurement clients, an absolute Looker Studio rock star. So we're going to go ahead and let Julie take it away officially here. So let me switch it over. It's all yours, Julie.
All right, let's go ahead and dive in for what's new in January 2023. What's been going on the past month or so? So let's start with Google Analytics 4. There's lots of things happening in this particular platform. So let's go ahead and start back to about 30 days ago or so. What are the things that happened? So one of the first things that happened inside of December is we got new metrics that we were able to use. So one of the very first places that when there's a new metric is you're going to be able to see them inside the exploration. So if we click on a new exploration, we'll be able to click in here and we can dive in. And one of the brand new ones was average session duration. And you can actually, that's a metric, not a dimension. So we might want to go there. How about that? So let's type in talk at the same time. So if we're able to come see it in here, then we're able to go ahead and use it inside the exploration that we want to do. And if there was a dimension that we wanted to use, we would definitely go into this category and look for it. So if there was something that you're waiting for or looking for and wanting to see it, you could always come in here and check first. It's always happened inside the explorations first. In the past few years, it's always been here first as opposed to inside of your other reports and workspaces. Remember, these guys right here are called your workspaces. So if I were to look for something inside of this handy dandy list, you see it's really short. We show you in other workshops and courses kind of how to go through and edit and customize, but you'd be able to go through here, and sometimes if it's fast enough, you might see it here as well. Remember that average session duration, and we see it here. If you happen to miss one of our latest updates, remember they actually divided these guys up into different categories to make it a lot easier to see, and we were able to search. This was not a thing. It was actually one of those things I was like, I really hope they fix this soon, and the next month it did. So Google, if you're listening, thank you, and I have some other suggestions here in just a moment. So hold on, Google. So for the rest of us, let's go on to what the next update was. So one of the next things that happened If we get back out of here, let's go to the home page. The next thing they have is something fun in here that you're not even really going to be able to see. And instead of our home, because we're looking for our real time, and I'm still stuck in that old universal like mode of like, hey, let's go to home if we look for real time. But it's actually under your reports in real time. Got to build in those muscles to remember that. So we go to our real time. And the thing that is new for us this recently is behavioral modeling in real time. So what Google is telling us is they recognize that some people are going to say no to cookies. They're going to say no to allow measurement across the page. We've known that's been happening. It's not something new. We've known that's coming, that's going to happen, and we know it's going to continue to happen. So what Google's trying to do is basically kind of what their words is kind of bridge the gap and help guide that in real time. So us at measurementmarketing.io, we feel that even though we know that there's going to be less data, we feel that we can still get a lot of a useful truth even with less data. And we even actually kind of proved this when we were going through Measure Summit over this past year, how we were able to prove that we could still make useful decisions and forecast, optimize, take action, and go through those steps in the measure marketing framework with less data. We'll definitely have some more workshops and courses and everything on that particular and inside with all of that. But just as a high level, you don't have to worry about modeling and bridging the gap if that's something you're concerned about or your clients are concerned about. You can definitely still do what you need to do because, as we say, the truth is in the trend, the pattern, and let me try that one again. The truth is in the trend, the power's in the pattern. So that way you're still able to make those decisions, take action with less data. And so all the data is very useful. So that's just a little pro tip on there, even though it is there. The other update is actually kind of a fun one, interesting. You may or may not see this. So if we go into our life cycle, then we go into, I'm just going to open up all of these so you can see all of them. So one of the updates was, hey, we gave you landing pages, but it's not here. So you might see it. I don't. I'm going to hop in. I'm going to open up this admin real quick into a different screen, and I'm going to show you if you have the Google demo, which is demo account, and then we're going to go to make sure that we're on the GA4 merchandise store, and then we're going to go to theirs, and they have all this extra stuff too. So theirs is where I would go to see like what is the most recent one. And so they can say, you can see that they're kind of going through and adjusting. And so here we see they've have some stuff in here. So this is where I would look if there's like, hey, what's happening? Just to kind of give a possible guideline. But they did update and say, hey guys, we've given you landing pages, but some of us see them and some of us don't. So just kind of know that they're coming. And you might not see them all at the same time. So let's go ahead and hop back to where we were. And then we're going to go on to the next update. And this is actually kind of a fun one here, definitely on the home screen, not real time. And you're going to see these little fun thumbs up, thumbs down, leave positive feedback or negative feedback on those. And they're not here, just kind of a little note. They're down here suggested for you. So it's kind of going to try to learn. This kind of modeling I'm okay with because it's trying to learn what we want and that's okay. But if you go to these other reports, you're going to realize that they're not here. And the reason that they're not here is because you can customize these guys. And you can go through and adjust these. And the other update was that we're able to kind of start adjusting these a little bit more, not just in real time, but these other, all of these other customizable reports. I wish there was a little bit more flexibility on some of these because like here, sessions by source medium, we usually use the metric of users, not sessions, because that's more useful for us depending on what we're measuring. But here's users and country. So it's kind of, I wish we had a little bit more flexibility, especially in some of these other reports. So Google, this is, if you're listening, please allow us more flexibility with this and allow us to do that. One of the things that I noticed, I'm actually going to hop back and go back into ours and make sure that's popped in and we're in the right account. There we go. One of the things I noticed that seems different is that if this up here used to not change, or maybe I just didn't give enough time to change, but I noticed, so we have session source medium, and now we have users by source medium. So that's kind of nice that they're now changed it to users. That's good. Before it wasn't, and we have users by session default, and so it's nice that they have that. By this is the one. I'm sure if we change session as the primary, this would change that as well. The monetization one doesn't work as nice as this one. That's the one that I usually like to be able to adjust and want to be able to see the trending charts over time. Um, but it looks like we're making progress, which is fantastic that we're able to do that. Then the another update. Yes, we're still in Google Analytics. There are lots of things happening at the end of the year and the beginning of 2023. So lots of things going on. We mentioned this briefly, but I talked to you about the positive and negative feedback. But you can go ahead and start personalizing this if you have the right permissions. This particular user does not have the right permissions, but you can like adjust some of these if you want to and personalize it to make it work for you as well. So that's just a little note to go along with all the other different things that you can adjust. You can adjust this as well if you have the right permissions, which is super nice and awesome. All right, so the next super amazing big thing that I want to make sure everyone is aware is like the buyer beware, user beware notification that I want all the alarm bells going off, the end of the world explosions, everything, everyone pay attention. If you see any sort of migrator tool, please, please, please proceed with caution. A lot of these migration tools are basically saying, hey, we're going to take your stuff from Universal Analytics and shove it into Google Analytics 4. Let us do it for you. And I'm going to use the simplest explanation is that is like taking you have a old diesel vehicle and you have an electric car and they're saying, "Hey, we're going to take the fuel and the parts and pieces from your diesel engine and shove them into your electric car." All of us are saying that's absolutely ridiculous. It wouldn't work. And that's the exact same thing that's happened. Even Google's doing it. They probably have a little bit more sophisticated system, but guess what? Almost nobody, not almost nobody, I correct that. Um, Nobody outside of the experts had a good universal analytics setup, including us because we taught and unplugged and plugged things in so often that even ours wasn't very pretty at times. Like we've had to adjust and readjust things just to because we teach, we constantly edit stuff. So even ours wasn't a perfect example and would not be something we'd want to do with a tool like this. And there's lots of people that are going to be popping those things up, products and those agencies and different tools like, hey, we'll migrate it for you. And they're going to use tools like this that's basically going to take that diesel fuel and shove it into your electric car and expect it to work. And again, the reason why that's not a wise decision, and you really should think it through and go very, very carefully, is because Google Analytics 4 and Universal Analytics are two different databases. They process the data very differently. A lot of the names are the same, but it is very, 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 very different. Um, and you're basically, another term that we've heard of is you have a hoarder, like someone who has too much junk in their house or too much stuff in their house, and they take it from their old house and just put it in their new house, and that's not a very efficient. It doesn't solve any issues for them. So that's another way we have heard it explained inside of our mastermind groups. And so whichever way that you need to talk to your client about it, or if you want to talk to us about it, just let us know. We'll help and guide you so you can guide your clients or your stakeholders, and we can help you through that process. But proceed with caution with any sort of migration tool that's kind of like a one click little button. So earlier, or so a couple weeks ago actually, Google Analytics 4 had this notification that popped up that everyone was able to kind of go through the process and start kind of migrating. And I actually have a screenshot here that you might have recognized if you went through this too. So there's first just this upper part. And it says, hey, just in case you didn't know, Universal Analytics will stop processing data on July 1st. And by the way, I'm in my Google Analytics 4 property when they pop this up. And so, this is the one that you're using to, blah, 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 blah. You can read this, pause this, and read this. But basically, it was asking people to connect this GA4 property to an existing universal property. Meaning, if I said yes and I did these things, a lot of the information that was in my Google Analytics 4 would start duplicating. Yeah, and that's a absolute mess. So we told us no, and we didn't. We basically said we already had it set up, and we did that and saved it, so we don't have this thing popping up anymore. And I haven't seen it pop up anywhere else, so I think Google realized their mistake and said like, "Ooh, that's bad." But if your client went through and did this on accident, you're seeing duplication or things that make you think it's duplicated, you can come inside here and go into your data streams, choose the proper data stream, and then circle down, and this is where we feel it would be, because this is if you have anything connected, this is where it should be. So if you follow those prompts, it would likely be right here, unless Google decides to hide it and put it somewhere else, but most likely it'll be right here, and you can just go through the process of unlinking those and you should be good to go. So just again, being educated so you can guide your clients, stakeholders, and the rest of your team through these processes, even though Google is trying to do their best and help everybody else. If you are ahead and you already have your Google Analytics 4 set up, you can just ignore this and go on with your life. So that is your amazing Google Analytics 4 updates for January 2023. Let's go ahead and talk about what's new in Tag Manager. Kind of surprising, there's not really anything new, but I do want to tell you something super duper exciting. And that is if we pull over Tag Manager and we go to our templates and we go into a tag template here and search, and we search for the name TikTok, we finally have a TikTok pixel that does all the things that we want it to do and so much more easier. So if you, for all of you that are familiar with how you used to do Facebook and then how the template in Facebook solved a lot of issues, thank you, Simo. Now TikTok finally has their version of it. And it was actually just a couple of what's new workshops ago that I was actually saying, hey, don't forget to search, because I'm coming in here every couple of weeks and searching for TikTok. And guess what happened? We finally got a TikTok one. So thank you, TikTok, for making that so much easier. We actually did a very recent workshop showing you how to use this template and how to set up your TikTok pixels. So even though there's not necessarily anything new inside of Tag Manager per se for here, always check those templates for tags as well as these variables. So for those of you that may not have personally identifiable information pulled out of GA4 yet, always come in here, see if there's any sort of tool that you might want to use, if you want to use cookies or anything like this, or if those of you that are trying to set up consent. What we did is we actually came in through here like, okay, who has some sort of variable that we could use? And we Googled all of these companies and all of these to find out which one it is the one we wanted. Just kind of like, and it kind of helps you to know who's doing what and kind of who's on top of it and all of that fun stuff. So that's just a little pro tip with Google Tag Manager, even though there's not an update. So fun pro tips. All right, Looker Studio, all of these fun things that happen in here. Let's go ahead and bring over our handy dandy Looker Studio. We have just a simple Google Analytics for the demo data that we saw a while ago. And recently, in the past couple of months, we've had this update, which is fantastic, especially for those of us that might be working on a smaller monitor and want to be able to expand these things. And then same thing with this guy. So first we had the one on the right, and then we had the one on the left. And for those of you that may not work in Looker Studio, you'll be like, what is the big deal? But as soon as you get in here and start building all of your amazing dashboards and actual dashboards, you realize how big of a deal this is. So the other cool thing is you now have this guy over here, this guy over here. So what does that do? That just kind of takes away the data tab and the properties tab, which apparently now we're calling this the properties tab, which is just interesting that they're calling it that instead of anything else. So that's what we're calling. So this is now the data tab and this is the properties. So, and those little icons you have there. So if you want to take away that one or not, that one or not. So those are the little updates that we have within Looker Studio to really help you take advantage of that. The other things that happen inside of Looker Studio are some things kind of with the organizational setup that are kind of behind the scenes. And mainly for the Looker Studio Pro, So most of us, it doesn't have any sort of anything to do with the rest of us that are using the free edition. Um, but just kind of note that it seems like some of these things are happening to make it easier to share things. Currently, it has been a lot easier if you wanted to add somebody else as the owner or add somebody and then transfer the ownership. It has been so much easier to do that. And so it looks like they're doing that with other parts of Looker Studio, possibly with the data sources and stuff. So we'll keep you up to date on that because it even has some Google Cloud things along with this update for, but for again, for most of you, that doesn't apply to you. But we'll definitely keep you up to date if it does. The other super amazing big deal that happened is finally, with all of this Google Analytics token and API usage, we're finally able to right click on one of these guys and say Google Analytics token usage. And we could come in here, and this is obviously not our actual data source. This account does not have permission to edit or anything like that. I can view it because that's what we are able to do. And we can go to this report and then we can kind of go through and see how many tokens per day, per hour, all of these things to kind of know where we're at. Clearly, Google's probably going to open up their token usage. So if you are kind of wondering how many tokens your very particular report is using to know, like, ooh, if 4 people open this at the same time, are we going to blow through our entire tokens in that hour and they can't actually use the report? And then so that it kind of helps you guide that way. And then so you can decide if you need to go to another tool or not, like we talked about before with Analytics Canvas, as well as other things like mixed analytics and BigQuery and all of those things. So just kind of like a really great thing that we're able to see that, but still most of us are still going to have to go through those other routes to have beautiful dashboards for that. So let's go ahead and talk about what's also new inside the Measurement Marketing Academy. Right. If we come over into our beautiful Measurement Marketing Academy, we do have some new win courses for you that we want to make sure that you are aware of inside here. So we are about to be updating Win Google Tag Manager Basics. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But we also just updated Win Looker Studio as well as Win Google Analytics for Basics. And this was a pretty beefy course. And I say that because what we're coming up soon is we are going to be updating Win Google Tag Manager Basics, the one I just mentioned to you, as well as kind of separating that really super big beefy course into two small courses. So you're going to have Win Google Analytics for Setup, and then you're going to have Win Google Analytics for Basics. Each one of those will probably be 3 to 4 lessons each, and you're easier to consume, easier to get through it, and kind of duplicate the process for all of your different clients or all of the different accounts that you might have to do this for. So that's what's coming up in the next few months, as well as in March, we have Win Google Analytics for Beyond Basics. So kind of like after you have that basic foundations, then you go on to Beyond Basics, as well as Win Measuring the User Journey. So remember that what WIN stands for is what I need. So all the courses, what you need for measuring the user journey, all of that fun stuff. And then your upcoming boot camps, we also have in January 2023 a plan, build, launch Google Tag Manager Bootcamp. And then in March, about 8 weeks later, you'll have another one that's going to be for Google Analytics 4. So if you've been needing that accountability for that, you definitely pay attention to emails and look out for those on the site to dive into those different boot camps with us. And then we do have something really special that I'm super, super excited about, and I cannot tell you what it is here. I can tell you next month in the What's New, but it'll be kind of a little bit too late. So for all of you that are wanting to know and wanting to be aware of it, watch your emails the last week or so of January. And then stay tuned because I'm super excited about it. And we will let you know about it. So now that is what's happening inside of all of your different platforms and what's been going on in January 2023.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Julie. I'm going to go ahead and flip over the slides here. So, again, if you have any questions for Julie on any of that stuff, both, of course, Julie and the entire instructor team are available in the Ask an Instructor support section. That, again, is available to those of you who are part of the Measurement Marketing Academy, whether it's the Academy for Marketers, Academy for Professionals, or Academy for Agencies and Teams. So, what was your one thing from this? I know when I think about the framework, which remember, everything should be strategy first in your organization. If you focus on just the tools, don't get me wrong, they are important, but if you focus on just the tools, you're missing out. You need to understand strategy, right? It's not just learning how to use an oven. You got to learn how to cook. You got to learn how to be a chef, not just learn how to chop vegetables, right? Same thing with measurement. It's not just about learning GA4. It's learning about measurement strategy and how these tools work together. So when I'm looking at the framework and I'm thinking about all these different things, I go, okay, average session duration. Well, now I can ask questions around that. It's automatically being collected. So I can take action based upon if a session duration is lower than expected or higher than expected, especially if I have some sort of engagement metrics. Based upon the things that Julie was showing you with Looker Studio, it might be a little bit easier to build reports in Looker Studio now. So you can listen to the conversation that's happening a little bit easier back there. So that's sort of how to think about it. And again, practice these skills. Then you come back, rewatch this workshop, and then you'll pick up another new one thing. That's, again, how we build skills one step at a time. Now, if you are not yet an Academy member, we do have a free edition of the Measurement Marketing Academy. We call that the Measurement Marketing Academy Toolbox, and it comes with the most recent workshop Wednesday, plus a ton of tools. And of course, you'll be on that list. So if Julie, as she mentioned earlier, we've got an announcement that'll be coming out shortly. It goes out to everybody that's on the email list. So if you want to be on that announcement, just be sure to become a Toolbox member, and at least you'll have that as well. And of course, we have the paid versions where the Academy for Marketers, the Measurement Marketing Academy for Agencies and Teams, or the Academy for Professionals. Lots of different editions that are there. You can see your options currently available. Just go to measure.tips/get academy to learn more, including about the free edition of the Measurement Marketing Academy. With that, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. This has been What's New for January 2023. Thanks again for watching this workshop, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.